Hello and welcome to a very interesting topic. So today we're going to talk about the basics or the introduction in pursuing the idea of giving high quality goods and services as a mindset because you have to really change your mindset to deliver quality products and services. Now, before we start though, I have a very short table of contents that I'd like to present. So I only have two topics. So the first one answers the question, what is quality? And it will be followed by a brief history of how pursuing for quality goods and services came to be. And number two are just the basic mindsets and actions based on my realizations if you wanted to start pursuing for quality for your customers. Okay? So let's start. What is quality? For me, quality of products or services is synonymous with value for money. Like, if your goal is to give quality products, it means that your goal is really is when the customer receives your products or services, he or she will conclude that they got their money's worth or more than what they paid for. Okay? Now, as per experience, in my review days to get my license, I enrolled with a review center where I got to experience excellent lectures from board top notchers, from book authors, and I thought to myself, is this really worth 12,000 pesos? Because I honestly thought I was given more than my money's worth. And I think giving that kind of feeling to the customer must be the main goal of businesses, and how to give that feeling must be the main focus of those businesses. Now, although that definition is more than enough for me, let me emphasize other concepts like quality is fitness for the purpose that the product is designed for. Like if you bought a brush for the toilet, it should do as advertised, right? And then another concept of quality is that the product should have no defects, and that's self-explanatory. And another concept of quality is that it meets the standards set by the customers and others like government agencies. Like for example, if you're producing food products, you should meet the standards of the Bureau of Food and Drugs. So in summary, if you want to give quality products or pursue for quality, your product should provide value for money, your product should perform as it is designed, and your product should have no defects, and your products should conform with the standards set by the customers and government agencies and others. When did the pursuit of quality started? So the earliest traceable pursuit of quality can be traced back 8 centuries ago when craftsmen in Europe organized into guilds. Now, for me, when I hear craftsmen, I immediately imagine people who make swords and who make shields and other metal weapons. But I know that they are more than that. Anyways, that's how I imagine because maybe despite my age, I'm still a fan of anime movies and anime series. Well, to be honest, I do read and watch other videos related to craftsmanship, and there are things that I noticed, and one of it is that these craftsmen, these people always want to be unique, and also they want to be known, and they take pride in their work output. And actually, sometimes I observe that they see to it that they have some kind of signature embedded in their work or a mark in their work. So I was not surprised that they are one of those who pursued for quality first. And actually, these craftsmen from early 13th century to early 19th century developed already strict rules for the products that they are making and the service that they are giving. So actually they formed already inspection committees and they marked goods which conformed with quality standards that they set. And also, they also have the marks for defective products already. Okay? So, in order for your imagination to work, imagine that this is a time where a master and apprentice type of relationship is very much popular. Okay? Anyways, the system evolved from craftsmanship to working in factories. And during that time, a lot of appraisal activities like audits and inspections were already done. So everything that we've talked about from the very beginning until now is still centered on the checking of the output until the 20th century. So in here, in this era, the quality system evolved into focusing on inputs and processes instead of just inspecting the final output. So processes and inputs are now being focused because there is already mass production using machines and factories. So this might be the time where the quality was now redefined into doing it right the first time. Like, why do we need or why do we have to wait for the end product to check its quality? If we can start already infusing quality by getting high quality inputs and perfecting the process of the production. Imagine if we apply this in our everyday life, like if we do everything right the first time, then we might have a chance to a quality life. Well, anyways, it's not included in my report. So let's move forward. Today, we have institutionalized quality control systems and quality control programs, and most are even making quality control system departments already. And that progress was helped by different prominent people like W. Edwards Deming and others. So that's it for the brief history. Next is we have the basic mindsets and the basic knowledge that I realized based on what I read and what I experienced if you wanted to infuse quality in the products or services that you are offering. Okay? So there are only three concepts that I'm going to present. So the first one is the quality control system and its components with an acronym HEAL-ME. So in order to have context, actually, this is related to my profession as an accountant. And actually, these components are the ones that we need to focus as accountants if we are going to make accounting firms, consultancy firms, and auditing firms. Because we have a responsibility to provide quality services to the public. But I personally think that this can also be applicable in other organizations. Now, let's start with H. If we wanted to offer high quality services or products to the public, then we need to make policies and procedures related to human resources of the firm or the business firm. Okay? So that's from recruitment, like what are the basic requirements for hiring, like NBI clearance, police clearance, diploma, and other documents, as well as the required training and experiences. Okay? So from that, to testing the applicants like IQ test or EQ test or interview or panel interview, something like that. And aside from recruitment policies, you also need to design policies related to promotion and rewarding, as well as punishments, and of course, the continuous trainings and seminars to continuously improve the skills of the people in the organization. So the point is, you need to have those policies to have people with high integrity and competence and to keep them in your company in order to continuously give quality products and services. So that is why your policies here in the human resources is, I think, the most important component in the quality control system. Another is we have engagement performance or work performance. Still, if you want to deliver quality products and services, you must have policies and standards for working as a whole. Okay? So, you need to specify in these policies how directing, supervising, reviewing, and resolving conflicts are done in the workplace in order to avoid bottlenecks which will affect the delivery of your products and services. And if you are a service entity like a consulting or audit firms, you have to have policies and standards on how to take on each of the engagement. Next is we have to make policies also related to acceptance and continuance of clients. So this is more related to consulting and accounting firms and audit firms. So as professionals, sometimes we need to have policies related to selecting clients because we need to minimize associating ourselves with clients who lack integrity because our name will also be affected. Our integrity will also be affected. So we need to do a customer profiling or client profiling just a little bit. Now, even if we talk about entities who manufactures tangible products, it might not be bad to know your customer's profile to have an idea on how to specifically satisfy them, right? So, after all, their satisfaction or the customer satisfaction is the main goal in the pursuit of quality. Next is we have leadership responsibilities. So leadership responsibilities should also be documented. Like for example, the owners, the top managers, they need to be accountable for some transactions and events in the company. So their responsibilities must be clarified and documented, especially in the directing, supervising, reviewing, and conflict resolution and monitoring if ever. Next is supposed to be monitoring. But let's first start with ethical principles. So, in accounting firms, the firms should have established policies on how to encourage the accountants to follow the ethical principles and also policies to discourage violating them. So, those ethical principles like professional competence and due care, integrity, confidentiality, and others. And I know other professionals also have their own code of ethics that must be followed. So again, the organizations or firms should make policies to encourage their adherence and also policies against violating them. So that's how you make a quality control system more beautiful or more effective. Okay? Now, even if you are not an audit or consultancy or service firms, like even if you are a manufacturer of tangible products, and even if you are one of those small companies, you should also have ethical principles or work ethics that needs to be encouraged and to be followed if ever. And you should also make policies to encourage following them, and you should also make policies in order to discourage violating them. Lastly, we have M for monitoring. So, a good quality control system is always evolving through the changing times or changing technology and the experience problems in the company. Now, all of these components must be reviewed regularly to avoid obsolescence and promote improvement always. Okay? So that's it for the quality control system. So my point here is that if you wanted to start the pursuit of quality for your customers, the great way to start is to design policies for this Heal Me. The second concept that I'd like to present is all about the quality costs. Like, if you pursue for quality for your customers, you need to know that it's not free. There are costs involved. So the first one is what do we call as prevention costs, like maintenance cost for machinery and equipment used in the production, or the cost of replacing the machines even before the useful life of the machine ends. Like a machine can be used for 20 years, for example, but in order to prevent breakdowns, it's the policy of the company to replace equipment after, let's say, 15 years only. Okay? So what will happen with the old equipment? Of course, it will be sold as a surplus, and I know some who are still interested in buying those. Okay? Anyways, that's for prevention costs. Another quality cost is what do we call as the appraisal cost, like inspection costs and any cost of checking the final product for defects if ever, or checking the final product for the standard quality if ever. Okay? So that's a little bit self-explanatory. Now, the third cost is the internal failure cost, which are the costs on reparation of damaged goods, or rework, or even losses on cost incurred in the production of spoiled units or goods. And the point of this internal failure cost is this happens after the appraisal cost. So it's not yet transferred to the customers. Okay? And lastly, we have the external failure costs, where the defective product has already left the company and now in the hands of the consumer. Example of those costs related to that external failure cost is the warranty repairs cost and even lawsuits if the defect is grave, if the defect is severe. Like for example, if you are selling food products and somehow those who ate your product has been food poisoned or has died of food poisoning and they are suing for the company and you're going to pay for it. Okay? So those are examples of external failure cost. So anyways, my point for introducing this quality cost is that if you want to pursue for quality, then invest in the prevention and appraisal cost. Okay? Because if you invest in those, you're going to produce better and better product. And you need to invest on those to minimize internal and external failure cost. Because those costs, those internal and external failure costs, are very expensive. That sometimes the image of your product and the image of your company might be affected and sacrificed. Lastly, I have here the concept of value-adding activity versus non-value-adding activities. So value-adding activities are those that contribute to the quality of the products or services that you are offering. And those activities that contribute to the prestige or popularity of your company's name. Okay? And the costs involved related to those are considered as value-adding costs. Whereas those that don't are called non-value-adding costs for non-value-adding activities. Okay? So what's my point? Why did I introduce this? Because if you wanted to pursue for quality, you need to avoid these non-value adding activities. Let me give you an example. Example of this non-value adding activity are the cost of making a warehouse and maintaining such warehouse. Because you need staff to maintain it. You need a warehouseman and you need to pay them salaries and you need other costs related to warehousing. Now, we need to avoid warehousing costs because if you analyze it, those costs do not add value to your product. And even if you put it in the warehouse, your product is not improved actually. Okay? And also, even if you have a lot of warehouse, the image of your company will not be improved. Okay? Now, in other countries, they are not using already warehouse because they are already using the just-in-time manufacturing where they get the customer order first and then after getting the customer order, they order the raw materials or the inputs and then they transform the inputs to outputs and those outputs are delivered immediately to the customers. So there is no need for a warehouse because the inputs are used immediately and the outputs are delivered immediately. Okay? So another application of this concept is about time for delivery of services or products, which is crucial nowadays because customers wanted to have a quick delivery of the products that they ordered. Okay? So you need to study which time is considered value adding and those that are not. Like processing or manufacturing time is value adding time. So if you're going to mess with the manufacturing time, you might sacrifice the quality of your product. So don't mess with value adding times like manufacturing times. Okay? Now, there are other times that are useless. Like for example, waiting time in order taking. Like before a client is served, he or she must fill up a document with a lot of information, so it needs time before his or her order is accepted. Okay? So those are non-value adding time. And the delivery time is also a non-value adding time. Okay? And there are a lot of useless times or waiting times. So again, those are non-value adding times. And if you wanted to pursue for quality, you need to reduce those non-value adding times if it can't be eliminated. Because if you can eliminate those non-value adding times, eliminate it. Okay? What's funny is that I started applying this in my life and I defined value adding activities to be activities that makes my health better. That's one. Those activities that makes money even a little bit. That's number two. And those activities that saves me time, money, and effort. That's number three. So those are my value adding activities. Now, after I applied that, I immediately erased a lot of my activities. Let's end this presentation with a summary. Okay? So, in pursuing for quality, it always entails a change in mindset. And actually, if you pursue for quality, you need to change your mindset where you need to provide products and services that are value for money. You need to provide products and services that fits the purpose that it was designed for. You need to give products to your customers with no defects, and you need to offer products which conforms with the customer and government standards. So that's what we learned here in the first slide. And also in the first slide, in the history, we have learned that quality control in the past is only focused on checking the end product. But today, it's more focused on infusing quality in the processing of inputs already. Because it's really much better to do it right for the first time. So that's the summary for this first slide. And in the second slide, in here, if you want to start pursuing quality, these concepts are for you. So you can actually start your pursuit by doing policies for Heal Me. So you can make policies on recruitment, training, rewards, punishments for human resources. You can also make policies on engagement or work performance, especially on matters on how to give directions, how to supervise, how to review work done, and how to resolve conflicts. You can also know your client's profile to better serve them. And if you are a professional, you can make sure that you only accept clients with integrity. You can also document the leadership responsibilities, and you can also design a set of policies, programs, rewards on encouragement to follow work ethical principles, and of course, punishment to those who will violate those. And lastly, you can always improve and monitor your quality control system. So that's the first summary for this quality control system. So the second one is you can also start to invest more on prevention costs and appraisal costs because it makes the quality of the output better over time rather than investing in internal and external failure costs, because aside from they are not improving your products, sometimes they will cost you and your company's name. Okay? And lastly, please avoid non-value adding activities. Reduce non-value adding time. Okay? So, reduce those things if it cannot be eliminated. Because if it can be eliminated, then eliminate them. Okay? So, that's the end of my report. My name is Gletsmar Igkasama, your presenter for today.